We're joined by UFC fighter Chase Hooper. Sir, how you doing? How you liking UFCX?
Yeah, it's a really good time. I'm happy to be here. This is my first international fight week, and ever since my debut, I've wanted to make it out and get to experience it. And I think this is the biggest one they've done yet, so it's a great time. It's cool to get like recognition from the fans and stuff. It's crazy. I'm surprised by how many people are coming up and talking to me and stuff. It's cool.
Since you've been with the company, we've seen more and more of your personality come out, embracing the comedical side of being Brand Askrens' son and everything that comes along with it. Was that a conscious decision or just your personality playing out naturally?
I think it's definitely more the second. It's more just genuine. Like, people really catch on to if it's fake, if you're just kind of doing a persona, and people really don't like that. But I don't know, I'm just genuinely like a weird dude. Like, I'm just trying to have a good time, trying to humor is like the way that I deal with a lot of the pressure of the fights and all that. So, that definitely, I feel like that's where it shows for my side of things.
We had Chris Curtis over here a little bit ago, big sci-fi fan. He's another guy that considers himself like a weird dude or an outsider from this typical MMA environment. Do you feel like it's more open than you expected once you got further into the community?
Yeah, I think a lot of the MMA fan base is so broad. Like, there's so many people that you wouldn't necessarily expect, or it crosses over with other fan bases. Like, there's a lot of people you wouldn't expect to be MMA fans, but yeah, I think it's just so broad, and again, it's like an ever-growing fan base. Like, constantly, more and more people are flocking to it. I think I've heard this year that UFC is doing record numbers as far as that goes. So the fan base is growing, and there's a niche for everybody. But yeah, if you have something that makes you stick out, that's kind of the best thing right now is just anything for people to latch onto. There's going to be a group of people that are going to like what you're doing. So yeah.
And we've seen you with specials and other media obligations on FightPass. Were these your ideas? Did you go to the UFC? Did they kind of hit you up? How did we start to see so much of you on the internet?
It's more trying to be the face of FightPass, I guess. I met the FightPass guys while I was doing my developmental contract, fighting on all the FightPass shows, and they're just great dudes. They're my buddies and stuff, so it's just like, hey, what can we do? They're helping bring me out, and I get to do cool stuff and produce content for them, and I think it's more just because the content does so well, and it gets good reception. So it's they're not going to be saying no to doing more of it when people seem to like it. So.
You're a fighter, you're a martial artist, but have you started to embrace that you're also a celebrity, that you have this platform, that you're an influencer, so to speak?
I don't know. I try not to think about that stuff. At the end of the day, my wife still yells at me if I don't do the dishes or don't get done with the honey-do list in time. So it's I feel like I have such a good, I'm so grounded in all the other stuff that I do that I come out here and do this type of stuff, and it's crazy to think that this is my life, because it's such a it's so separated from my real life, where I just kind of go to the gym, I just work out and train, take care of my chores of the house. It's definitely weird. I don't get to experience this stuff all the time, which I think is a good thing. It still makes me thankful and appreciative for it.
And that's actually what I was going to ask you next along those lines. Being as young as you are, being in the spotlight, so high profile, what's it like, maybe not growing up, but maturing into a young adult with all this spotlight, but then there's the other side of it, the wife yelling at you, you still got stuff to do with the house. How do you balance all that?
Yeah, I think it's kind of, it's definitely interesting. I grew up doing this, I guess, and it's kind of the same as people will talk why'd you get in a relationship so young? You kind of grow together at the same time, where I'm growing at the same time that I'm in the sport, so you're kind of adapting to it and growing around it. So it's stuff seeing people trash talk you online, that bothered me years ago, but now you just get used to it at that point, or you get used to doing the media stuff. I used to be horrible with interviews, but it's you just keep doing them and you get better and better each time, or at least more used to it. Definitely crazy, but it's one of those things where I feel I feel like I owe it to myself to take it as far as I can, as far as the MMA career stuff goes. And it's just, at this point, I don't really try to think of myself as still like the young guy. Like, I'm just another fighter on the roster in my head. So it's just trying to, like, normalize it for myself a little bit.
It's a little mind-blowing to think about how you've grown up in this journey, the developmental contract here in the UFC.
Yeah, it's definitely crazy to go like look back or think back to where, you know, my skill set, my maturity, even my body was physically, like, you know, 4 or 5 years ago when I got my shot on Contender. I'd only been a professional fighter for 6 months when I signed the contract to get on Contender. So it's been a crazy journey, and it's like my career and my skill set has really grown through my journey from UFC developmental contract to here, and it's been a wild ride, and definitely doesn't feel like it's anywhere near to being done yet.
How much of a learning curve was that? Something like 6 fights in 6 months? That's what all fighters turning pro dream of.
Yeah, I got really lucky time-wise. Like I got to start my pro career before the pandemic and stuff. Like that really shut down a lot of local shows and stuff. So I was still kind of in the peak of that, where there was, you know, a show every month, and I could get on every other month, and, you know, get those fights in and really put in the time and put in the work that I needed to, because there's no reason not to, especially on the regional scene. I was living on my own and paying my bills with that fight money, and it's not much, so you got to stay fighting often. I just thankfully didn't get hurt or injured or anything, so I was able to still stay in there. But yeah, I've progressed, you know, so much since I don't feel like my striking was, you know, anywhere near UFC level on my Contender fight. But now I feel like I'm starting to figure that out. Same thing with the wrestling, same thing with the fight IQ, cardio, you know, physicality, all of that. It's definitely grown in my time.
Do you feel the Felipe Colares win was your most complete fight to date?
Definitely. I think it showed. I've always been known for being like a tough guy, I guess. Like, I'm not going to go in there and wilt. I'm always going to like stay in the fight, have decent cardio. But I was able to show off a decent little bit of striking, better wrestling, better grappling. It's always nice to out-grapple a Brazilian, especially a black belt in jiu-jitsu from Brazil, from, you know, a camp like Minotauro's, where it's high level, obviously. So yeah, I feel like that really like cemented my spot in the roster for now. Like, it proved that I deserve to be there.
And last thing, anything in the works with FightPass right now?
Doing stuff with FightPass all week for the fights. No idea on the next fight. Still waiting on Uncle Dana. But yeah, ready. Hopefully in the fall.
Chase Hooper, thank you for the time, sir.
Hey, appreciate it. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you, man. Thanks. Come over.
Thanks.